Alright, and welcome back to the channel. Man, another really shitty day. These Saturdays started out really hot for me this year, but lately, maybe I've been getting a little bit too confident. I'm going to very quickly hash over most of these games. Wisconsin pulled away near the end. Just a little bit tight most of the game. St. Joseph's, terrible first half, down like 20 at half. Came all the way back just to lose the game by 2, unfortunately. Again, Creighton, similar, kind of on and off, tight game, pulled away at the end. Detroit Mercy, pretty dominant all game. Florida Gulf Coast, pretty dominant all game. Florida State, dominant for 35% of the game. I think they were up 10 to 15 most of this game. And then they implode in the final seconds. Usually when you're in like a foul territory at the end of the game, you usually hope for some misses, but it was just Florida State would miss a free throw, make a free throw, the other team would come back, Boston College come down, drain a 3, foul, miss, drain a 3, to the point where their 7-point lead with a minute left ended up only being 1. So, shitty one. Duke game, close all game. Duke was winning with like 10 minutes left, ended up losing that game by 10. Utah started to come back near the end. Terrible first half. UIC, very similar. Awful first half. Didn't have enough time to come back. Middle Tennessee only wins the game by 3 or 4. I thought that one had a good chance of covering. FDU somehow loses at home to Mercyhurst. I don't know how. The Mercyhurst team is a bunch of children. Georgia kept it pretty close most of the game, but Alabama kind of ran away with it near the end. Kansas, they were fucking winning this game by like 20-something at half, dominating most of that game. They end up somehow losing the game by 10, which is just classic. And the McNeese game never really stood a chance. They just looked like shit on the road. So, honestly, pretty shitty day. A lot of these games felt like they could have went either way. The wins were pretty solid. Started out really hot in the morning, and then just everything imploded. So, it is what it is, but I'm not very happy about how that Saturday went. So, let's make some money back today. All right, heading into game number 1, we have Tulsa heading on the road against Tulane. This game does start in about an hour, so if you're seeing this, you want to bet it, it's probably going to be soon. But I think Tulane is just a more scrappy team, especially when they're playing at home. Tulsa can be a scrappy team as well, but I don't think they have a phenomenal matchup here against a Tulane team who's played, tougher teams. This Tulsa team really hasn't played much in the American. If you look at Tulsa, or where Tulane likes to score, they're going to find a lot of success. I think they're going to shoot mostly near basket shots, and they're going to absolutely dominate the special teams, if you want to call it that. I think they're going to get a lot of second chance opportunities, and they're going to get a lot of steals on this Tulsa team that doesn't take care of the ball at all. They're ranked 320th in giving up points off steals, and 355th in defending their own boards. So I think Tulane dominates the boards on both sides of the ball. And they get a shit ton of turnovers at home here. Tulane, Tulsa, that they like to score mostly by shooting threes and mid-range shots, but Tulane is a top 100 defense in both those categories, and that's on much harder competition. So I'm not necessarily confident that Tulsa's going to find any easy buckets here. Look a bit further into, the power ratings at home. Tulsa's played much better. They have the 58th best home advantage in college basketball. And this Tulsa team has played really bad on the road, outside the top 300 when they're playing on the road. Strength of schedule-wise, Tulsa's played the 291st hardest schedule, while Tulane's played the top 170. So I think typically that leans much more heavily to, obviously, the team's, Tulane's stats are much more solid than Tulsa's. Arguably, they're worse than they really are. And this Tulane team, they're a top 100 team when playing a bad team. They like to crush these bad teams. It's usually where they show up the most. And this Tulsa team, they either show up against really good teams or really bad teams. But these middle-of-the-pack teams like Tulane is where they tend to struggle the most. So I think this is a phenomenal spot to black the green wave here at home, where they've been playing much better basketball. Plus, we're getting them off of a loss against Memphis, so I think they're going to want a big bounce-back game here. So give me Tulane to cover this short 9.5 point spread. All right, heading to game number 2. We've got Quinnipiac heading on the road to play Siena. Now, this Quinnipiac, they're a solid team in the MAC, but I think they just have played such shitty teams that all of their stats are a little bit inflated. Quinnipiac, yeah, they're going to dominate the boards realistically on both sides of the ball, but I just think this line is a little bit too heavy considering how terrible of teams that they've played. I think Siena will find some success from 3 on their home floor. This Quinnipiac team, they're good, but again, I don't think anyone can look good when they have the 341st easiest schedule. I think Siena will find some success here against this Quinnipiac team that doesn't shoot the ball phenomenally well, and they kind of do rely on getting points off of steals. Siena does turn the ball over a fair amount, but they've been better as of lately, especially at home. I think this line is just a little bit too heavy. Plus, just if you're looking at the logos, I just don't see how a cat can beat up a dog. I feel like if history repeats itself, I think Siena could win this game outright. So give me Siena to cover this +6 number at home. All right, game number 3, we have Colorado heading on the road to play TCU. Now, I didn't like this game last night, but as the line moved to 6, I do actually quite like it. I just think that TCU they have the better coach. They're just a more well-rounded team, and they played a really tough gauntlet of a schedule, the 10th hardest in college basketball. Now, if you look at where Colorado typically likes to score, I think this is a pretty good matchup for TCU defensively. This Colorado team, they just like to shoot in the paint, and they typically rely on second chance opportunities and steals. Those are all things that this TCU team has an edge on. They're 89th in near basket defense, 48th in limiting turnovers, 20th on defending their own boards. I think this Colorado team who's been really struggling, I think they've lost like 7 of their last 7. I think TCU is going to find some success here. They've been the better team. They've played the harder schedule. They have the better coach. And if you look at TCU, they typically like to shoot mid-range and near basket shots. In the paint, they're definitely going to struggle. But I think they're going to get a ton more free throws than Colorado is. And that'll make up for some points. And I think they're going to get a ton of points off steals with a Colorado team that's been really sloppy with the ball, ranked outside the top 230 in giving up points off steals. TCU ranks 22nd in points off steals, and they're at home. I just think this is a pretty good spot to back them. If you look a bit more in depth on this in terms of power ratings, TCU has the 38th best home advantage in college basketball. They play much better at home. And Colorado, when playing on the road, they're outside of the top 100. And if you look at the last 10 rating, this TCU team is top 75, while this Colorado team is almost outside the top 150 as of late. They really have not been playing well. And they definitely do struggle a little bit when it comes to certain levels of competition. So, yeah, I think TCU covers this short home spread. I think we're getting them at a pretty good price here. Both these teams have been really bad at covering the spread in general, both on away and on the road. So one of them has to give in this spot. I think we're getting TCU in a good spot here off of 3 losses. Now they're coming home to play a team that's on an even worse loss streak. Sorry, it's 9 losses in a row. I think the bounce back spot for TCU here is much more likely than Colorado. TCU as the short -6 home favorites. All right, game number 4, we have Merrimack heading on the road to play Rider. Now, I genuinely believe that this Rider team is playing above their head. They've been playing much better as of lately, but I think this Merrimack team is going to be too much for them. Merrimack has been the better team all year. They've been a borderline top 200 team, while this Rider team hasn't even broken the top 300 at all during this year. And Merrimack has played some of their best basketball on the road. Now, offensively, Merrimack, they're not necessarily known to be an offensively gifted team. They're outside of the top 200. But I think they're going to find some success here from 3. This Rider team is outside of the top 300 in defense. So I don't think they're going to be able to defend this Merrimack team too well. They give up a lot of turnovers. Merrimack forces a lot of turnovers. And on the other side, Rider, this is a really good defensive Merrimack team, almost a top 100 team that's played a harder schedule. I think everywhere that Rider's going to want to get points, they're going to have to really, really fight for it. And this Merrimack team, they've been good. Yeah, they're due for a little bit of regression. They've been a little bit too good. But I think this Rider team is also due for quite a bit of regression. I think they're playing a little bit too well for a top 300 team. They've covered 5 of their last 6. I think they're due for a stinker game. And now we're on getting a good spot here where Merrimack, they're 4-1 as away favorites. And we're getting them off of a tough loss against Mount St. Mary's at home. So I think we have a good spot for them here in general. So give me Merrimack to cover the short -5 away number here. All right, and to wrap up today, we have Nebraska heading on the road to play a pissed-off Oregon team. Now, I'm not a fan of this Oregon team, if I'm being honest. I think they are extremely inconsistent, but so is this Nebraska team. And I think Oregon's, quality of strength of schedule and the fact that we're getting them, they're 16-5, and we're getting them off of 2 losses on the road. I think this is a phenomenal spot to back them in the Big Ten, heading back in front of their home crowd. They really haven't played phenomenal at home yet this year, but I think, after Oregon kind of had a rough going in college football, I think this Oregon team is their last hope for any chance at getting any sort of bling-bling. So I do like Oregon to bounce back in the spot. If you look at the matchups, Oregon team, they're an okay offense. They're almost a top 50 offense. And, they shoot mostly they don't really shoot anything specifically. They actually shoot almost everything pretty equally, which does give them an edge here. Because this Nebraska team does defend mid-range pretty well, but near basket and 3, they do not defend well at all. And I think Oregon's going to find some success there. And I think they're also going to find a lot of success here in forcing turnovers, getting points off the second chance opportunities for sure. On the other side, Nebraska, they've been an okay team this year. 13-8 in the Big Ten is pretty solid, but I think Oregon is too good of a defensive team here. This Nebraska team that likes to mostly score near basket, Oregon team is ranked 31st in defending that area, and they also kind of rely on second chance opportunities and steals. Oregon doesn't turn the ball over well, and they play really aggressively on their own boards. So I think when you just look at the matchup here, Oregon has been the better team, has played the better teams, and they definitely just have the more talented squad here. And now we're getting them in a very rare spot. They've never lost 2 games in a row, especially not on the road. So I think this is just a good spot here. It's probably my favorite game of the day. I'm probably going to bet a full unit on it. Oregon is a short -6.5 home favorites. All right, and that is everything for today. There is another game I am betting, which is North Dakota State +3.5. I do think St. Thomas at home is a good bet. But in the Summit League, these two teams are basically neck and neck. And if you really look at how they both like to shoot, I kind of like North Dakota State here. They have been playing better on the road than they have at home. The St. Thomas team, kind of the opposite. But both these teams, they do the same thing. They just huck up a shit ton of threes. That's all they do. And I just think that in this spot, St. Thomas has the 280th worst three-point defense. And even though St. Thomas technically shoots the 3 slightly better, 0.16% better, North Dakota State defends the 3 at a much, much better rate than St. Thomas does. So I think when you have 2 teams that are just going to be shooting up 3s, I'm just going to bet on the team that has a better 3-point defense. North Dakota State, inconsistent. You never really know what you're going to get with them. Like any team that just hucks up infinite 3s. North Dakota State, if you weren't aware, is the team that shoots the most 3s as a percentage of the shots they take in college basketball. Over 50% of their shots are from deep. St. Thomas shoots the 3, 45% of their shots are from 3. So a little bit more variety in St. Thomas, but their most primary shot is the shot that North Dakota State defends the best. Plus, I think North Dakota State is going to find some success from the free throw line. St. Thomas does foul quite a lot, and on the other side, NDSU does not foul really much at all. So, give me NDSU here to maybe even win outright, but I think they can keep this number close if their 3s are falling, and I think they have a much better matchup from 3 here. So that'll be my 6th game of the day. Thank you guys so much for watching. sorry about yesterday and the day before. Two pretty shitty days. I think we're due for a big one coming up. So